All aboard, Hearties! Welcome to Hope Valley Central Station.
Your transportation to Hope Valley with your conductors, Kerri
and Morgan.
All right, Hearties, just a little something different this time, but I hope you enjoy this vlog of the opening weekend, the world premiere of When Calls the Heart, the musical. Now, this one you'll really need to kind of watch more than listen to, but there are some really cool panel discussions and Q&A sessions, so I hope you enjoy.
All right, guys, I have made it to Indiana. Yay! This is what I look like after being in the car for 10 hours straight. Yeah, that's a long drive. But I actually ran into a couple, like, as I'm walking in the little inn here, that's from like an hour south of me in Georgia, so that's crazy. Hopefully made some new friends here. But yeah, it is kind of raining. Trying to show you. Oh, it won't let me flip the camera. Never mind. Cute little place here. So yeah, I guess it is about time to just relax. Can't wait for tomorrow. Alright, y'all. So, funny story. I fell asleep. Like, I didn't realize how tired I was until I got still. So I ended up crawling in bed and falling asleep at like 4:30, and I cannot sleep during the day, so you know I'm tired. Woke up at like 7:23, I think, and I'm like, I have slept through the night. Like, so I got up, I was messing around in my room here, and a friend of mine texted me, and I'm like, why is he texting me at 7:30 in the morning? He always texts me around lunchtime. And I double checked my phone, and it was 7:30 p.m., not 7:30 a.m. So I slept for about 3 hours. Didn't even realize I had fallen asleep. And I don't think I'm gonna have any trouble sleeping all the way through the night. Anyway, all right, just had to share that funny story with y'all. All right, Hearties, it is time for me to head to the high tea, the first event of this weekend for me. I have no idea what that's going to be like. I'm really curious. I hope I'm not overdressed. Like, I wear a dress and heels and stuff because high tea sounds pretty fancy. So hopefully I won't be overdressed. But I don't know how many pictures or videos or whatever I'll be able to take. But we'll see if I can get something.
Love to play Mr. Pink, isn't it? Let me think about it. That's tough. I would say a dream role of mine is Charlie Brown, and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and I'm fortunate enough that I get to do that this summer, which is awesome. Yeah, that would be one of the few like dream roles that come to mind. I would love to play Shrek again because, like I said, that was a favorite, and I did it in high school, and I feel like I would understand it. That I don't know. It would be more fun. It would be more fun. Yeah, see the progress. Yeah, that's the only one that comes to mind.
Not as deep a musical, but Shrek as well, but not Shrek, I guess. Princess Fiona, because she's not, your normal Disney princess. She's spunky and she tap dances, which is a plus for me. And I would love to obviously play Fiona with him as Shrek. I think would be really fun. And I did Cinderella and Into the Woods here a few months ago, but when I'm older and don't look as young, I'd like to be Baker's wife. I really like that part in that show. Yeah. You want to be the witch, so I can train.
Bob Wallace in White Christmas.
Yes.
In theater, yes, Alphaba, but I actually had a callback for that 2 years ago, and they're like, why are you here? And I was like, well, you called me, I don't know. Because they saw my resume, and typically what I've been cast as is like the Disney princess type of role, not the belting type. So when I sang, they were like, oh, okay, like we hear it, but also looks-wise, I don't think I would ever do it because I'm also very short. I'm wearing very tall heels right now, but I'm very small. But other dream roles, I don't know. My dream actually is to do television and film. So my dream role would be to have something originated by me. I don't know. It doesn't exist yet. That's what my dream role is.
Theater-wise, like Phantom, or like Valjean in Vegas. I love that type of music. When I'm hired for stuff, it's usually like legit musical theater stuff like that. Yeah, that's really my wheelhouse. So I love stuff like that. Oh, I know Jesus Christ Superstar. I love. I would kill my voice though, so I don't know. Maybe just some recordings of it.
President of the church college group at the time, he asked me out to go to a coffee shop for pie. Okay? So we went and we talked for hours and hours till they closed. And it actually happened to be my birthday that day, but I didn't tell Brian that it was my birthday. I felt a little embarrassed. I know it's my birthday, I'm a loser, I have nothing else going on. I don't know where my friends were. But it was my 19th birthday. And we had pie and talked and just hit it off. Well, in those days, for you youngsters, in 1979, there were no cell phones. And I was in college, and I lived in my college dorm. And the dorm was probably 50 years old. And we had one telephone that was on the wall of the dorm, and it rang all the time, and nobody wanted to answer it because if you answered it, then you'd have to go find who it's for. So it was like 20 girls on our floor, so the phone rang. You couldn't make calls out. If you wanted to make a call out, you had to find the payphone downstairs. So anyway, so we do Coco's, and I think I probably was thinking about him all week, and I know he was thinking about me. So the next Sunday we went to church. I went to church, walked in, and guess who's like right in the back of the church? And I know he was waiting for me because he was just sitting there, and I could see when he saw me walk in. Well, my birthday's July 31st. It's the summer, very, very hot night. And I walk in, and Brian is wearing this leather jacket, and I kind of like laughed to myself, like, it's so hot outside. But you could tell it was a brand new leather jacket. It was shiny, and I probably from 15 feet away could smell it because that cheap leather smell. So it's kind of like you got a new jacket, and like school point, your first day of school, and it's hot, and you've got all those new school clothes, and you want to wear that new sweater you got. So anyways, at the back of the church that Sunday, we of course didn't talk because we had no way to communicate back then. He said to me, hey, on Friday, I'm just happened to be going to Newport Beach, and I wanted to know if you'd like to go with me to a restaurant called, was it Green Onion or Red Onion? Red Onion. And I said, oh, sure, that. But I got back to my dorm room, and I kind of laughed with my roommate about the leather jacket, and he's just so happy going on a date by himself, and he wants to know if I can come. So he was such a smooth ladies' man. But anyway, so we kind of joked about that, And so we ended up going to Newport Beach, had a wonderful dinner, romantic walk on the beach, and I think we, knew pretty soon after that. I think it was a month later we were sure we were going to get married. It was that quick. So we got married a year and a half later. And that first date went well, obviously, because we just celebrated our 40th anniversary in December. And we have 5 children, and we had 3 biological sons, and then we adopted our 2 daughters from Korea. And well, we had 3 sons, and we were only going to have 1 daughter, but our one daughter prayed from the time she was 3 years old on for a baby sister that looked like her. So when she was 6, she got her baby sister, but it was only a few weeks later when we were driving, and she kind of is in the back seat, and she said, "She's not really the sister I prayed for." She wanted a doll to dress, and Mackenzie is our youngest, and you don't mess with Mackenzie. You don't put hair bows, you don't. She was married, our first daughter had all the accessories, being the first girl, she had a hair bow that matched every outfit. Well, Mackenzie, it's just like, she's good enough, leave her alone. You just didn't mess with her. So then with our kids growing up, all our 5 children grew up on movie sets. They moved in TV sets, and I was pretty amazed by how well they behaved. They kind of just knew when action meant action, and even our little Mackenzie was a baby, and I was so surprised how she would just stop playing, she'd stop talking, with the exception of one time. And there was this TV show Brian was a writer and producer on called Step by Step. Anybody know what that's? Suzanne Summers and Patrick Duffy starred in it. You weren't born yet? No. It was in the 90s. And so they filmed in front of a live audience, and it was very fun to take our friends, kids, families to go on Friday night and watch this being filmed. And I think we probably went just about every Friday night to watch it being filmed. It was kind of like they start reads on Monday, and by Friday they do the live show. Is that right? Yeah, that's what it was for the 90s. And so I brought Brian's always on the floor with the cast and crew and everything. So I brought our 2 boys at the time, that our oldest that are 9 and maybe 6-ish. So we used to sit mostly we sat in the front row because we were always there early. We'd have dinner with Brian, but for some reason this week we sat way up in the back at the top of the bleachers, which actually ended up being a good thing, because halfway through filming, the director just said, action, and everybody's quiet, you don't hear sound. My son number 2 pulls out a baseball card out of his pocket that belonged to son number 1. And son number 1 grabbed that said card out of son number 2's hand. Well, son number 2 started crying really loud, but they're kind of like, woo, and stop. And so I did what any good mother would do. I just looked straight ahead and pretend I didn't know them. Somebody on the floor, one of the crew members, got on a microphone and they said, "Is there a cat in the audience?" So they were threatened to never go to another filming of anything for the rest of their lives. But those boys did grow up, and they ended up being good men. Our oldest is 39 on Tuesday, and he was born on Mother's Day, which was pretty special. And the whiny kitty cat is actually just finished his first year of law school, and he's a journalist. He was a journalist first, and now he's going to be a lawyer. And then our 3rd son, who's 32, and his wife are expecting our first grandchild on my birthday. Actually, it's August 4th, but I just rounded it back a little bit. On my birthday. And it's a girl, and we're very excited. And then our daughters are 27 and 20. And one of the scenes in the movie, we're so used to movies, in the play last night with the hat, how her father took her shopping and bought her the hat, that really kind of got me. I was like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Because anybody that's taking their son or daughter to college, or they get married, I mean, probably many of you can relate to that. As a parent, it's a hard transition to go through. We took our kids to college. It was very hard because it changes everything. And it changes your relationship, it changes their life. And so when our son number 2, the whiny little kitty cat, went to college, my sister called and said, "How are you guys doing? Are you doing okay?" And I said, "Oh, it's sad, I'm doing okay. Brian Brian's at Best Buy right now buying Cameron a bigger TV. And I said, that's how he's coping. So when I saw that thing last night, I was just kind of wanted to cry, but I also wanted to laugh because that was his way of coping. I'll just take him shopping and buy him the biggest TV in the whole dorm. When I was in college, we didn't even have TVs in the dorm, or computers, or phones. So anyway, so we're very proud of our family, and family means so much to us, and hopefully we'll all honor your mothers on Monday. And one more thing I want to talk to you about this family is 2 years ago, I sent in a DNA sample to Ancestry.com, and not expecting anything profound, or not hoping for anything, but with COVID and all the time I had on my hands, I spent so much time searching, DNA relatives, and it's kind of like they give you, if anybody's done it, they give you clues, and it's kind of like a puzzle, and you just keep going. And I found so many interesting things that Brian is so jealous of, related to Hemingway, Shakespeare, a couple of presidents. I share the 15th great-grandmother with Prince Charles and Princess Diana, and they were cousins. We're all 15th cousins. And two of the Morris brothers that signed the Declaration of Independence are my third grade uncles. And okay, now I'm just bragging. But Laura Ingalls Wilder is my 9th cousin, and Charles is my 8th. And I knew that. I always had known that. My great uncle, who passed away 7 years ago, was our last Ingalls in our line, and he was also a TV writer, producer for all the old westerns, Gun Will Travel and Bonanza and Virginian, and Brian gave Brian his very first start. So, anyways, but the most amazing time that's ended up being the most amazing, when I first found it, I wasn't quite sure. There was one name that said, this is your closest relative on your DNA. They give you a whole list of cousins and all the way up to your 3rd, 4th, 5th cousins. And this match, I looked at the name, and I'm like, gosh, this is so weird. I have no idea who this person is. And so it said his name, and if you click on the name on Ancestry, it'll tell you what the relationships. So it said, this person is either your grandfather, which I'm like, no, I don't think so, your grandson. I knew that was a possibility, or your half-brother. So I'm like, holy moly, what do I do with this? I have a half-brother, and that I never knew about. So long story short, we connected, and I thought, you know what, we should at least have one phone call. Maybe it won't go anywhere from there. But we talked on the phone. I think our first call was like 3 hours, and his wife was on the call, and she told me later that the whole time he was just crying. He's 68 years old, never knew. He always assumed someone else was his father. We share the same father. So he and I have become very close. We met for the first time this last October. And on our very first phone call, I was trying to give myself credibility because I thought, I probably felt a little apprehensive as he did. What does he want from this relationship? What do I want? Do I want this, relationship? But I just said, hey, do you guys happen to watch the Hallmark Channel? And they said, oh, yeah, we do. And I said, have you ever watched this show called Wind Calls the Heart? And they go, yeah, we're Hearties. And they're going to be here tomorrow. So they live in Ohio. So I'm going to introduce him tomorrow at the tea. So pretty amazing how we're all connected, whether we're friends, family, or, like Sherry. Is Sherry in here? So maybe she's tomorrow. But she mentioned at the luncheon today how if for not this show, people would not have the connections they've made. So thank you very much.
So we're out touring the Amish Acres. This is my friend Kristen. Hi. My husband Josh. Might have just cut his head off there. I don't know. But we are going inside now. Wow. So this is like gorgeous, but it is insanely cold and windy. So. Guys, I just got in my car. It is freaking freezing out there. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we came to the high tea thing, and guess who was sitting like 4 chairs down from me? Brian Bird. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. We came out, like, I thought I was gonna have time between the high tea to go do the tour to change clothes. Not happening. So I was not dressed for this windy weather, and thankfully Kristen's husband Josh was a sweet gentleman and gave me his coat to wear. Like, I tried talking him out of it and he wouldn't hear of it, so thankfully I was getting to wear a coat the entire time. But yeah, this has been really, really cool so far. We are about to go get some supper and then just head to our hotels, I guess, and get ready for a full day tomorrow. I hope y'all enjoyed the little clip of Brian's wife, Patty. I'm sorry, I was drawing a complete blank on her name for a second. Patty talking. I didn't catch like the first few seconds of her talking, but I caught most of it. So yeah, we'll check back in later. Bye. Alright y'all, it is the beginning of day 2 and the last day of the Hearties VIP Weekend up here in Indiana for me. Yesterday was so much fun. I'm here a little bit early, but I found out last night that Joyce Keeler is here. Some of y'all may know who she is, but she forwarded my books to Janette Oke for me, so I was really excited to find out that she's here. So I'm here a little bit early to meet her. So far today anyway, it is not quite as windy as it was yesterday. Hoping I did not just jinx us with that. But anyway, yeah, so we have a full schedule today. Like, the last event starts at 10 o'clock at night. Full schedule. Super excited. Can't wait to share this with y'all. Kristen, what you thinking?
I am loving it. I can't wait to see the musical tonight.
This is so awesome. We just bought our t-shirts. I'm the only one that has it with me right now. I can't really hold it up and do this at the same time. But anyway, we just got to do the backstage tour. That was really fun. Got some cute pictures. Y'all will see those as well. And yeah, it's just been a really fun time of getting to hang out with people and running into a few Team Nathan and Team Lucas people. We're having fun.
Awesome. So we're going to jump right in, and I think what we're going to talk about, and I think what we all are wondering is how this came to be, right? How did When Calls the Heart the musical start? So I think, Christine, if you take us through that journey of why When Calls the Heart the musical, and how you got the ball rolling, you got the rights for the book, and how you and Brian got connected on the project.
Yeah, so we all know when the TV show started, and I was a big fan, Janette Oke fan. I'd read her in high school, and especially the Canadian West series. But when I saw that this title come up on Hallmark Channel, I was like, oh goodness, that's the books, you know. And so, as a young mom, I had a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time. I was looking for entertainment that they loved and that I could at least tolerate. There was a lot out there that mommy was like, okay, we're turning the channel, I can't handle this anymore. But this one was like, I knew the story and I knew it was going to be good and I hoped it was done well, but it was on Hallmark, so I mean, you know, it's going to be good. And so we tuned in and we loved it. We just loved the show, and I was so happy to see that it was done and done so well. And I just started researching, okay, who is behind this? How did this happen? And why is there not more of this type of programming on my television for my kids? And so I stalked him on Facebook and I sent him a message and I said, you don't know me, you know, but I'm a huge fan, and how did this happen? And he actually answered me back, and we started communicating. I think it was on Facebook and an email, communicating about, you know, this journey that he had been on with Michael and Jr. and others that were producing it. And my first initial message was just to thank him, first of all, for doing it, but second of all, to say, okay, how can we get more of this? I wanted to see it continue. And as we talked, we realized that, you know, I was going to be going to LA with Marlon on a business trip, and we might be able to actually meet. And so we did. And as we met, we found ourselves agreed on so many things about entertainment, about philosophy, and just the approach to life and giftings and fine arts and things like that. And so we were just thrilled to meet him and hear his philosophy, and everything he said was so inspiring to me. That, you know, I really kind of tucked it away and said, okay, this is a life moment that I'm not going to forget. I'm going to walk away and learn from this. But Marlon and I also wanted to jump in and see what we could do to help. Well, they invited us to the set in Vancouver to see how it was going. And it was the second season. And our boys were just loving it. They loved the horses, they loved the Mounties, they loved the schoolroom, everything about it. And we did too. In fact, they put our kids in a couple of the episodes and put them in costumes, and I was in one of them too, and it was just, I don't know, it was surreal. It just kind of made us feel like family. We invited them out to Washington because of some of the things that Brian had shared with us that we just were surprised at, how policy affects, or how Hollywood affects policy and vice versa. So we went and had a conversation about that, and I'll let Marlon and Brian talk about that, but that's kind of how this started. Now, I've been a composer all my life, and I've always wanted to get into, you know, writing full-length stage musicals. And now that we have this place, we have an opportunity and a venue to do that. And we had already bought the rights, and so that's how it happened. But really, the inspiration came first of all from Janette, second of all from Brian. And then my own kind of dreams mixed in there as well. And when COVID hit, we couldn't get licensing out of New York for any Broadway shows. We got one. We lucked out to get one. And so we had to start writing right away. And then we had to start thinking about this year as well. How many can we get licensed for this year? And then can we supplement with our own? And this was the big project, writing this one. And we had to figure out, do we have the team in place to write this? And we did. God had brought us a wonderful team. Alex has been an incredible director, had a great vision for this, jumped right in, read the book, had all kinds of ideas. And you'll see that tonight. We've tried to stay true to Janette Oke's presentation of Elizabeth's story, which was mainly first person. And so in the show tonight, you will see her, what we call break the fourth wall, where she's in character and then all of a sudden she turns to the audience and she shares with you what she's actually thinking. And then she goes back into the scene. So that's our attempt to say, okay, Janette, you gave this story from first person, so we're presenting it as much as we can from first person as well. And it's also, it's fun. Elizabeth's mind is always fun to follow. She's spunky. And that's one thing I liked about her. And so you can hear those little comments in there from her spunkiness and her reactions to what's happening in her life. But yeah, that's how it came to be.
So then, Brian, when you and Chrissy first started talking about, or when Chrissy brought the idea of a musical, tell us about your thoughts and reactions to that, and what encouragement you might have gave her along the way.
Sure. I'll just back up, just a little bit to these opportunities that we had to get acquainted with Christy and Marlon, and they invited me on a couple of trips. We went first to the Reagan Library with Congressman Stutzman at the time and his wife Christy and several other congressmen to go visit the Reagan Library, and so I got to tag along, and they asked me to get up on the bus and share my vision, for more values-based, inspirational, family-friendly, faith-friendly kind of content. And then they invited me back to Washington, D.C. to meet with many of those same congressmen sort of in their world and to really do some lobbying, I learned in the process. They also invited us to bring several of our actors on the show, and Janette Oke came with us on that trip. And we went to Capitol Hill, and we met with congressmen. We got to show the season 2 premiere of the show, 2 members of Congress in the Capitol Theater right there at the Capitol, and got to take behind-the-scenes tours and see all the secret rooms that people run into when there's a problem. So it was very cool. But as part of that, and to answer your question, I got a sense of who Christy and Marlon are as not only people of faith, but also as creatives, and as people who are entrepreneurs as well. And you can see this is an entrepreneurial dream right here, what they're doing. And I just got a sense of we were sort of soulmates in that regard. The idea of doing excellent work that as people of faith, we should, we're created in the image of the author of everything. If anybody should know how to set the bar high, it should be us. We shouldn't be trying to copy and rip off, Hollywood or Broadway. We should actually be trying to transcend that. We should do art that causes people to get on their hands and knees and want to worship the Creator, right? And I sense that. And so when Christy called a few years ago and said, "What do you think? When Calls the Heart the musical?" Well, first of all, my business brain says, go for it, right? More When Calls the Heart, that's good for everybody. That's a win-win for the Hearties. It's a win-win for everybody. More of this kind of content into the community, into the marketplace. But then I also said, wow, more Janette Oke, more of this great storytelling affecting the culture. Absolutely go for it. And so really my job was very hard at that point. I made a phone call and connected the dots between Janette's publisher and Christy, and then she did the rest.
Awesome. Well, cool. I think. Oh, Marlon.
Yeah. So I want to touch a little bit on just what we learned from Brian in Washington at the time. I was a member of Congress, and talking to all of my friends there, we all have different backgrounds, but one of the places that a lot of members don't get a chance to learn much about. We know about manufacturing and agriculture and transportation, but one of the most powerful industries in the world is entertainment. It is, and whether that's in book fashion, whether it's in TV, movies, stage, and we took this trip out to Los Angeles and Hollywood with a group because we wanted to learn more, and Brian and Christy had started to develop their relationship, and I learned so much because it used to be, there was a family-friendly TV night, and then the FCC changed the rules, and there was, now we just have the TV rating system. So it's like you just put the TV rating on the screen for a couple of seconds, and then you can pretty much show whatever you want because you've been warned. And Christy and I, we've learned this. We said, well, we got to share this with all the other folks and the other members of Congress. And so we really enjoyed sharing that information, and we learned so much. And we also felt that it was really important to have that dialogue with people in Hollywood, to have that dialogue with people that are producing entertainment content. And what we liked about was When Calls the Heart was the values, of course. And so we started to see how there was such a thirst for good entertainment. And of course, we saw Duck Dynasty all of a sudden just explode. The Ducksters never stuck. I don't know what happened. Hearties made it, Trekkies made it, but the Ducksters never made it. I didn't tweet enough, I guess. I think it's fantastic that people are following this show and other shows, but this show in particular, because they love the story, they love the values, they love the people, and it's become this big family. And really, as we develop and we started out of a grassroots organization. I remember Christy sitting on the couch during the first season, and she'd be over there on her iPhone just tapping away like a squirrel. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "We are trending. We are this trend on Twitter." And she started to tell us about the Hearties. And but what's so neat for our family, and I'm sure it is for yours too, is our boys were 9 and 5 when we were introduced to When Calls the Heart, the TV show. And our oldest son now is 19, and he still comes home every Sunday night to watch When Calls the Heart with mom and dad and his brother, because that's tradition, he says. And so that just shows you the broad appeal. And I think you'll see with the show tonight, our youngest son, who's 15, watched the show for the first time last night. And of course, he's a 15-year-old, so things are like, he laughed, and he loved the show, and I think it shows a broad appeal. And that's what we want. We want to help bring good content in every platform, and to bring families together and also bring communities and great messages together in storytelling.
Awesome. Yeah. So we get the rights, right, and then we start writing. So we got a script in November and started writing music end of November, early December. So it's what, 6 months, 5 months? So talk to us about that, John and Christy, your process of writing a song. Where do you take how do you find it in the book and say, this is going to be a song, and then how do you write it, and kind of talk about your and John's partnership there?
All right then. The process of writing a song. I sat down with the writer, who is Bethany Crawford. She and I co-wrote the book, which is the theater term for the script. And so we had laid it out, and we kind of had the placements for all the songs. And you've got to be strategic with some of those placements and how the story flows and the variety in the songs. And we kind of came up with titles for the songs because we knew what they were going to be about. But the titles can kind of morph and change as you write the song. The next job is to start researching. For instance, the first song was going to be about Toronto because that's where Elizabeth is from. And I wanted it to be innovative. I wanted it to be exciting, a bustling town. I wanted to give the feeling of energy, in a city. And so I started kind of doing a deep dive into a lot of listening research, is what I call it, where I'm just listening to a variety of things that are going to give me ideas and inspiration for that type of sound that I'm looking for. So it does take some research musically, but I also had to research what was happening in Toronto at the time. What did they have going? They had education, they had churches, they had a railway, it was a port city, they had manufacturing, they had innovation, they had people I think Tesla was there at a certain point doing some of his inventions and experiments. So they had a lot of stuff going on at the time, and a lot of cross-culture things happening as well. People from all over the world that were there, and they were kind of on the cutting edge of a lot of things. So that was exciting to research. And then, you know, you move forward through the story, and she progresses further and further west. And so as we went further and further west, I was looking for more sounds of, you know, big west, open sky, Aaron Copland type sounds, big epic, you know, sweeping sounds, and then also adding a little bit of bluegrass in there, or you had people from all over the world. So we made Mr. Higgins Irish, and we had him do an Irish jig. So I was researching Irish jigs and researching what would you play at a Mountie ball at that time period, you know. So we put a waltz in there, and there's a minuet, and so there's a lot of variety. We even have some ragtime in there because that was just starting to come in, and so that was fun. And then writing the songs themselves, I usually start with the lyrics because when I talk to the writer, we're trying to take the story from point A to point B with this song. And so what do I have to say in this song to bring the story along and to tell the story of the person singing it or what's happening in the moment? And so some songs are actually, you know, more of a real song expressing emotion. Some songs are kind of story songs. So for instance, I was writing a song about the auction, and the guy was auctioning it off. I had to write a song that allowed them to auction something off, but in time with the music. So that was not really something you're probably not gonna walk around and sing the words to the auction song. Believe me, there's so many words in there. This guy has worked really hard to memorize all these words, but you had to get the feeling of you're at an actual auction. So there's a variety of songs in there, and my process is to write the lyrics, but they come at all times of day or night.
Most of the night.
Marlon can attest. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll sit up, grab my phone, start writing. Because if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget them. Or we'll be in the car, and in the middle of conversation, I'll be like, hold that thought. Writing. So I have like lots and lots of poetry to pull from. And it's amazing, when I talk to the writer, when I'm reading the book, when I'm listening to music, it starts coming out in poetry. And I have to write it down that moment. And then as I have all this poetry to pull from, that kind of dictates to me the melody line, the rhythms. Because what I do is I take the rhythms in those words, and it naturally creates a rhythm in the music. So words have rhythms to them, and that will dictate to you how they should flow. Sometimes if you create a melody before words and you try to fit the words to the melodies, the rhythms of the words don't exactly fit the melody. So I'm allowing those words to let the melody flow and tell me how the melody should go. So that's my process. Then what I do is, moving on to John, who's going to talk, I'm going to make him talk, is I will write the melody and the words. I'll write all the, like a piano accompaniment, okay, to give you ideas for the harmonies. And then I will write what I call like a studio orchestra. So you have some strings, some woodwind, some brass, a little bit of percussion, and it's just kind of representative of my ideas of how I'm hearing the strings progress or where the woodwinds come in. And then I will send it to John and say, okay, Midas, put your golden touch on this. I mean, he has this magic of just actually reading my mind of what I'm hearing in my head with this huge 1,000-piece orchestra and making it actually happen. And so he has a sound library. He plays the orchestra as if it's his own instrument. He's incredible. And so I will send him my ideas. Now a couple of them I sent him pretty fully orchestrated because John had some trouble back in December. He got COVID and it was really serious, and he wasn't able to be working. And so I kind of jumped in and did some orchestration as well. But mainly what we do is I will send him the basics, and when he takes it and runs with it, he sends it back, and we work back and forth discussing, what needs to be where. What I bring to the table with that process is basically I know what it's supposed to look like on stage and how much time it's going to do. I'm going to need to change the scene, or that we have a costume change back here, so we're going to need extra time here, and then I will let him know that as well. So he works his magic. And so John, I'll let you continue. Don't say anything mean about me.
You're so cute though.
it's interesting, the process. These three people right here, we pretty much do what we do by ourselves. Don't you find yourself mostly alone when you're working? And there's no way you can infuse anything. I can't offer anything to Chrissy. It's got to come from her past. In the path that she's come, there's a harmonic language that she's learned. She heard her dad, and that music goes into her, and it goes in and it goes in and it goes in. And then when it's time to create what's in there, it's like, what do you get when you squeeze a lemon? Whatever's in it, right? And that's what happens. And so she's up in Indiana, way up in Indiana, and I'm in Tennessee by myself, and imagining what's going on up here and what's going to be seen, what you're going to see tonight. All was created, and last night was the second time I've seen the show, and I got to identify a lot of music, like, oh, that's what that was for. Oh, I get it started making even more sense. And so I would take her score. By the way, I need everybody to know the Toronto song, the first song that comes on tonight, she orchestrated every note. It's like, what do you need me for? So, I mean, she is a bona fide good orchestrator, okay? She doesn't have time to orchestrate it all. In fact, John Williams, I don't even think orchestrates all of his music. He writes it, and then he has orchestrators come in and fill in the strings and the brass and the percussion. So, but that came to me, and it was done. It was baked. There was a fork in it. But anyway, so I would take what I heard on the page by myself and kind of polish it up. The trumpet, sometimes she had more ideas than she knew what to do with. So she'd have one thing going in the woodwind, and then right below it in the brass, another thing, and then in the strings, another, and they were all good. But we got to pick one of these to go with. Anyway, so I would, those sort of things. And so last night, what overwhelmed me was the fact that she wrote this whole thing. Now, it came to me in just little pieces. And you just do this piece, you send it back. And then all of a sudden, there's a musical. Do I look surprised? Well, I'm in awe, really. It is truly amazing. And what this little lady has put together is pretty special. I'm not done, but I'm going to go.
That's good. Nice work, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so everybody knows too, so in February, we had a week and a half workshop where the cast got together, not even a complete cast. There were some members there at the workshop that aren't here now, and there's some members that are here now that weren't at the workshop. And we had Act 1 done at that point. I think most of the music for Act 1, we had the script for the full show. So we learned all the music that we had. We did a lot of table reads of the script and really worked through that. And then we staged Toronto. We blocked that one. So our actors, by the last week of rehearsal, they're like, please, can we never run Toronto again? We've been rehearsing it now for almost 2 months. And then 2.5 weeks ago, we started rehearsals. And we rehearsed Tuesday through Sunday, twice a day, 1 to 5 and 6 to 10. And then a week ago yesterday, which is crazy, we started our tech rehearsals, which is 12-hour rehearsals a day. So we did that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday, and then had a preview on Wednesday. So that's kind of been the process of it all coming together. And it did happen really fast. It's crazy how fast it happened. I know somebody referenced last night, but Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton, wrote the song My Shot, which is the second song of the show. That took him a year to write. And Christy wrote a whole musical in 6 months. So take that, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Don't tell him we said that. I think it's okay, we'll open up to some questions, and I have to specify, because we made the mistake Thursday, we're going to ask questions about the musical creation and not anything that's happening tomorrow. So, we learned our mistake on that on Thursday. So anybody have any questions about the musical or anything we're talking about now? Any questions? I know. I answered everything, huh? Guess we can all just go home and take a nap. Anyway,
I have a question.
Anyway. Yeah.
Was there any particular song, and I know you love them all, right? But is there any particular song in the musical that we're going to hear tonight that you're like, this was it for me? Or was it Toronto, or is there another song where you'd say, I love doing this particular song and this particular part of the story,
I think I do have a favorite. I think it's You Take My Breath Away, between Elizabeth and Jacqueline. I mean, Elizabeth and Jack. The girl who plays Elizabeth, his name is Jacqueline. So Elizabeth and Jack. Oh my word. Yeah, sure.
Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. So we took some, I don't know, different takes on this, and I guess we're trying to appease both book lovers and TV lovers. But that we ran into a problem with the name Wynn. Okay, so Wynn is the name, Wynn Delaney is the guy in the book. But on stage, it can be mistaken for the word when, and several other things, but Jack is definitely understandable as a guy's name. And so we called our Mountie Jack Delaney. So we're using the last name from the book and the first name from the Mountie in the first few seasons. And then we also did a little compromise on the location of where she lands. Because in the book, she goes to Pine Springs, and in the TV show, she goes to Coal Valley, and then it ends up becoming Hope Valley. So we called ours Pine Valley. So that's our little compromise there. You'll see that tonight in the show. But You Take My Breath Away, I think that one was just the culmination of the whole story, where finally, they are saying they love each other. And I think it was one of those that was very fulfilling once I heard the singer singing it. But I was also enjoying the fact that I was customizing it to actual voices. I knew who was going to be singing it, and I knew the capability of their voices, and so I was able to customize it to what their strengths were and what their ranges were, and be able to highlight their ability to harmonize in those ranges. And so having that knowledge of the singers, and then also the knowledge of the setting of the song, that one was very special. I think another one that kind of was really fun to write was Toronto, because it was so different than the rest of it, and it was the opener, but also the setting of it was just different as well. So yeah, Toronto is probably one of my favorites.
Do I get to answer that?
Sure, yeah.
Well, first of all, you guys are going to be blown away tonight.
Blown away.
All the way. It's unbelievably beautiful, the whole thing. So I'm not going to tell you what the finale name of the song is. I mean, it might be in the program, so. But the finale is beautiful, and anybody that loves the books and the show, you're going to love the finale. And then one of my other favorites is, there's several, but is the Mountie Ball Advance. It's a great song. It's a great song. You guys are going to love this. I felt like I was watching, Paint Your Wagon or one of the big musicals on Broadway. So you're just going to love all of it. It's fantastic.
John, do you have a favorite?
What he commented on, which out of nowhere, he likes the letter song.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is a song called If You Only Knew, which is sung by Jack's character. And not to give too much away, but again, it's a lot of the story is told from Elizabeth's perspective. All of a sudden in Act 2, we get to hear it from Jack's perspective. And it totally has this total contrast of sound from the rest of the show. And it's just brilliant. And just in terms of musical theater, writing. It's just brilliant, and I think that's one of my favorite ones to work on. The blocking of it was really collaborative. It was me, Christy, Caleb, who plays Jack, and Jacqueline, who plays Elizabeth. We were all in the room, and we tried 6, 7 different things, you know, until we finally got it right. And that really sums up the whole process. It was just so collaborative. My rule is, in these kind of projects, is best idea wins. Doesn't matter from who. It's just whatever's the best idea, that's what we're going to do, because we're just striving for excellence. So I think that was my favorite one. Yeah. Any other questions?
There's a lyric you can watch for in one of the songs. When Elizabeth is trying to decide what she's going to do, she has a decision to make, and the lyric is, well, what's the whole line? Heaven knows exactly where you are. What's that whole line?
He will guide you every step. The adventures you have yet to start. I can't remember what starts before that, but heaven knows exactly where you are.
Heaven knows exactly where you are, and I was glad to know that and be reminded that God knows where I am, and it doesn't have to be any big mystery. He knows where you are, and that made me happy.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Any other questions? Anyone?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was able to watch the show last night, and the costuming for Elizabeth is absolutely beautiful. Were you guys able to do that in-house, or how did you costume her?
Yeah, so we have a lot of costumes in-house. When we bought this place, it was a huge warehouse. And so one of the benefits of buying a property that had been operating as a theater was that we got a lot of what they had collected for 50 years. So we definitely have a deep costume choice to pick from. However, with Elizabeth, it is kind of a strange time to costume people. It's not quite Victorian, it's a little after Victorian. And so the dresses were a little straighter, they weren't quite as large. And so it took some doing to find the right cuts for Elizabeth. And one of the things I told our costumer was that when Elizabeth walks on the stage, you need to know that's Elizabeth. It needs to be, wow, there she is. She comes from wealth. She's very much a career lady. We need to see all that in her ensemble. And we have one party and one ball in this. And both times I wanted her in lighter colors. One of the discussions was, do we put her in darker colors, you know, and I really wanted her in lighter colors, very similar to what they do in the TV show, because she is the heroine of the story. And so we worked a lot with the actress as well as the costumer, and we actually found the right cuts for her, but then we had to add to it in order to make it look period. So there was a lot of work that went into her outfits specifically to make sure that she was accurate according to the time frame, but also it was working for us as well. So.
Great question. Somebody else have one over here? No?
I was just wondering when the songs would be on iTunes.
Great question. Yeah, so we've been discussing that all weekend of how soon we could get into a studio and get this stuff laid down. So hopefully soon. I think a lot of it is just going to come with the funding of it and just making sure it makes sense for everybody. But that's our goal. We want to get it out to everybody. We want this to go, you know, nationwide and more, and we want people to have access to it as much as possible. So that's the goal. Stay tuned for more. Yeah.
Well, if people keep coming, we're going to keep showing it.
And this is a historic moment. This is the world premiere of the show. So you're a part of something that we're hoping continues for years to come. So thank you so much for being here. But I thought this was a special message.
Yeah, and I cheated just a bit. I took some photos. We're not supposed to really take photos, but I cheated anyway because I wanted to send some to your mom, guys, so she could see, like, this is the real deal here. And give me your phone number real quick.
Want to be in the show tonight?
But your mom, guys, guys and your grandma guys and mother-in-law gals sent this email to us literally, right after the preview show Wednesday night or Thursday night and Friday morning. So this is what she said. I'm so disappointed that I've not been able to be with you for this wonderful occasion, sharing this special event with Indiana and with many people that I know and love. Congratulations, Christy, cast and crew. I'm aware of the tremendous amount of work that goes into a production, yet you have accomplished it and at such a difficult time. I've already heard from a friend who has attended, who gushed over the brilliance of the show and plans to be there for a second night. Great job. May your contribution to our struggling present world bring cheer, laughter, and the reminder that God is indeed still present with us and caring for the personal needs of each of his children. I still have hopes that the show will outlast the COVID. The borders will open and I'll be able to join the crowd. My sincere best wishes for a long and successful season. With my love, Janette. So even now she can still stir up the hearts, can't she?
And getting to know the Hardy family and everybody that we've been able to talk to. It's a lot of fun. I'll give you just a little, and the reason I got up is because I have kind of a story with Mom that goes back to what you were talking about with your boys. She started really writing that we were aware of as kids when we were in high school. So it was a later in life thing. It was after the babies, the stage had gone from our family. We have 4 siblings in our family, the 2 twins, an older brother and a younger sister. And at that time, we had learned to type, and that's how you actually got things done. There were no computers really that we were using at the time. So Mom set the first manuscript of Love Comes Softly on the dining room table, and we just took turns typing it up so we could submit it to the publisher. And at that time, she didn't have a deal yet, but there was a variety of publishers that she was going to submit it to. And I typed the whole chapter one time. I had a little more time on my hands, so I sat and typed for a little while and read that. And as Mom walked by, I said, "Mom, you know I'm not going to read this drivel, don't you?" And it was literally what I said to her. And Mom, bless her heart, did not miss a beat. She said, "I didn't write it for you." So it was really interesting for our family. I was just talking to folks at the table. Mom was raised in really a poverty almost environment as a kid, and they raised 8 kids in a 3-bedroom house, and they had very little. And then when she married our dad, his dad owned a business, and kind of a different side of life at that point for her that she adjusted to very well, and just carried herself in so many ways with so many respect to the people around her. And that's what you hear in her books, is just the way that she is so graceful to people in any stage of life, in any situation. And so that's one of the things we obviously feel very fortunate about as a family, to just see how she's represented us, but how God really blessed her work. And even as she wrote the next book in the Love series, and then each progressive stage, I will tell you one other story that some of you will appreciate. Most of you know her titles of her books a lot. When we were up in Canada one time, we've lived down here since our college years, my twin brother and I, and so we've been out here for a long time. So family vacation was driving to Grandma and Grandma's house at that point. But she came down from her writing studio upstairs in the house at Kerri, and she was just laughing, which Mom has a great sense of humor, but she's not a boisterous laugher necessarily. And so we kind of had to ask her, "Mom, what's so funny?" Well, she gets, as you can imagine, a good share of fan mail. And she said, "Look at this letter. This lady literally wrote Mom in her letter, 'Dear Janette, I just loved your book. Make love gently.'" Which, I said, "Mom, did you venture into another type of living?" So we were, of course, able to share a pretty good laugh about that as well. But yeah, it's one of the things that, as we got into it and we were older in life and now professionals, she started to answer all that fan mail. Every Monday was replying to all these letters and cards and what have you. And some of the stories that she got were just radically significant. People literally's lives, the way they were changed and things. But I couldn't believe. I said, Mom, you need somebody to help you with that stuff. Good grief, you don't need to spend all your time doing that. And she wouldn't do it. She was committed to that. And some of you may have gotten a letter from her for all we know. But it was just a really profound part of her ministry. Inside of the gifting that God gave her was the faithfulness to the people that replied and responded to her. It was really great to watch. So great to be here. Really appreciate you friends and all the support.
Yeah, I was supposed to introduce him to Kerri.
Hi, Kerri.
First off, I'm probably gonna cry.
Oh.
The first off, just want to say
They live around here somewhere, right?
Don't
you live about an hour
the show
away?
has introduced me to some of my best friends.
Do you drive home?
And like I've been listening to the Hearties Hotline going back and listening to that.
So,
And over
is
the
your dad,
past
is he a
3
farmer?
years, I'm sorry.
Really? So you're a farmer?
That God has just opened some doors of like people
No kidding.
freaking out that I was doing things,
Well,
made
I
no
just love
sense,
what
but
you
just
do.
that gut feeling
That's
of
fun.
this is what I need
I
to
started
do.
watching you.
And that God, every time I do that,
You know,
that
sometimes
God
you just
just
look
gives
at the
me
stage.
another word.
There's a lot of people.
So when I listened to
But
the
then I
first
see you,
interview with
follow you all.
him, and he just kept saying, just say yes.
I'm impressed.
And I was literally about
My
in tears
admiration.
just listening back because it was like just a confirmation that I was on the right track and that I was doing the right thing. Obviously the show means a lot to me. A friend of mine and I recently started a podcast on that as well. Would love to have you come on sometime if you would do that.
Absolutely. Reach out to me on Facebook and we'll figure something out.
But I wanted to give you these, if it's okay.
Yes.
You might actually already have this one. I'm not sure. I redid the cover and such. But this got inspired by One Calls the Heart.
Really?
It's its own little mountain teacher
Yes.
love story.
Oh, wow.
Which I co-wrote with Cleopatra Thomas. She's a
Oh,
Hardy.
yeah, Cleopatra, sure, I know
Yes.
her.
So this was the first novel that she and I both wrote. And we wrote this together. And then I have written and published the sequel to it as well. And plan to, like Janette, when I emailed Janette about it, she's read on it, and she encouraged me to kind of move on into my own thing, kind of not just stick with the mountain thing. And I was like, I want to do that, but at the same time, I'm committed to myself in my mind of I want to keep this promise to myself to make it a 5-book series. So I really want to keep up with that, but I wanted to give those to you, and say thank you for everything that you've done and the blessings that you brought into my life because of that. I'm sorry, just fucking crap. But so just thank you.
Well, thank you, Kerri.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for sharing with
And how much are your books? I'm sorry.
You know what? I don't know.
I know.
They're selling them up front, so
Okay.
$24.95.
Okay. All right. I can go get one and come back.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
That'd be fine.
All right, great.
Well, let me give you a hug. You're welcome. I'm so glad for what's happening for you. It's wonderful. Keep going. Keep going.
Drizzle this caramel in the chocolate.
Okay.
White coffee and
Then, so we put on tap it. Tap it.
transfer it.
Get the excess chocolate by tapping
There
it.
we go. Transfer.
And then squish your paper down a bit. Hopefully you
Find the
don't
rough
tear it.
side. There's the rough side.
That works.
Straight on.
Good.
Leave the paper on.
We leave the paper
And you wait until it dries.
And then it'll dry.
And you
Well, Hearties, I think that about wraps it up for this video. I really hope you enjoyed getting to see even just this little glimpse of the incredible weekend that we had. I hope it's the first of many Hearty events that I get to attend. We were there for like 3 days and everybody felt like family. A huge congratulations to Christy Stutzman and the cast and crew of When Calls the Heart the Musical. It was spectacular, to say the least. And if you're watching this video as it's released, you still have the opportunity to see this incredible musical at the Round Barn Theater in Napanee, Indiana through July 17th, 2021. So y'all go check them out and tell them I sent you. Love y'all. Bye.